If you want to, you could, because like the plan is this. Okay, let me share. let me share. Let me share this document with you. Just to give you an idea of the idea of the program.
I mean, better than the rest are there. They're in front of me. They can talk for the.
No. You have your own experience to share, which is very important. Yeah, so I just shared that document to you. That's like the agenda for the session. Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah. So So basically, everybody has 8 minutes. We're taking a look at narration because we see that many photographers are doing awesome work, but some of us are not telling our stories as Nigerians in the way that we should portray ourselves. I give an example. After the Lekki massacre, for example, when Sanwo-Olu denied the shooting, the next thing we started seeing online was everything online is fake news. And many young people did not see this that the government was trying to do to discredit what we were doing. And they all jumped in and started shouting, watch what you post, fake news. Watch what you post, fake news, you know? And if we had kept on doing that, it's going to hook us maybe like in the next 1 year, 6 months, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They will hinge on that and say, whatever you guys post online, remember in 2020, after the massacre, you all said it's fake news, you know, stuff like that. So the same thing applies to people from the West. They always try to bring ideas to us and tell us, oh, this is the way we see it, and this is the way you should portray it. But these are stories by us, first of all. Stories by us that should portray what we say. So that's what we're trying to, that's the kind of conversation, Bernard is trying to connect, that we're trying to have in this session. And I know you guys have a lot to share to everybody. So photographers around can actually learn from us. Bernard, welcome. Benito.
He's muted.
Yeah, yes, I'm muted now.
Hello.
Hello, Bernard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm shy. I want on my video.
Why shall I shy?
Hello, everybody. Where's my?
I can't put green venture background for us. What could you see? So now you're natural. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good
morning.
How is everybody doing?
Everybody's fine.
This is my okay.
I was like, let me just try and be here early so that I can get a very good feel of like the atmosphere before people will join.
Yeah.
But where's Edgar?
I don't know where Edgar is. I need to buzz him now.
I think I spoke to him a few. How far now? How you doing?
You know,
I'm okay, Mr. Shoebox, superstar, man. Like
that's a superstar.
You need to see how buzzed I was when I realized it was your picture. I'm like, how of all people, this man, hey, Olongo. It was amazing.
That's it.
So, man, being at the right place at the right time. Forget it. Like
honestly, like I
actually that.
Yeah, you were saying
that is his caption actually for his own talk. Like, being in the right place at the right time.
It's amazing. As in, so amazing.
You know that you're calling the talk. I just came here to this though.
He
Am I
said,
bored? I said, you know, that I'm coming to talk. I just came here to gist, though. I just came here to talk. I don't know.
It's a gist. It's a gist. It's a gist because it's very informal. It's a very informal space, so don't expect the formal things. You do it as you are led. You know that kind of thing.
yeah.
That's
I
it.
was like, I'm probably not read enough, you know, to be. Everybody's going to be there. Tell that story. Everybody, what's happening? That kind of thing.
It's like I was. Let me switch.
Come on.
Let me go and look for light.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I trust you. Better
Yep,
tell.
yep.
When I don't come online, Shoebox don't come online.
Aha.
Okay, all right.
1 minute.
Okay. So Edgar is coming on board shortly. So I just put in the chat box. So it's going to be very, very informal. So but in the next our dream for the next couple of months, 5-6 months, is to begin to shape these narratives. So we're going to be getting um, people who understand political context, social context, environmental context, all the contexts to come start talk to photographers. So that even if you're shooting weddings, you're shooting events, you're shooting whatever,
Yes.
you're shooting it from a perspective that you are the powerful storyteller who
Yes.
would define how people should see us. So
Yes.
stuff like we do it, and the reality is we do this unconsciously every day
Yes.
without putting a word to it that is narration or whatever. We do it unconsciously every day. But it's more powerful if we are able to do it from a point of view of I have an understanding of what I'm doing. I do it unconsciously. I have clear direction of where I'm going to. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
All right.
So happy to be here, man. I'm really happy to be here to see all these strong men.
Calm down.
We are coming down.
There are other people that I saw
I'm
that
surprised.
I'm sure some people are coming online as well.
Yes,
How many people
from 10 they start
you
coming
have
online.
registered? Okay.
Let me do that check right now. As when I checked 2 days ago, it was about what up? It was about. I'll do that check now. Check registration. About 33 people registered to attend today.
Okay, I had a couple of people that asked me for the link though, but I was like, since it's not on your flyer, I don't know if I should give it now.
No, you could no give it out. We're still going to send it out on Facebook, so it's going to be on our Facebook page too, so people could watch it there live. So by 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock, I'll put it up live. So because for us, it's just beyond whatever we're going to converse today or talk about today, the gist you're going to have is going to be online, so people can access it and also get one or two knowledge from it.
Okay.
Yeah, refer to it. Okay. Yeah, and we're going to put this video because I'm recording it now. Sorry, guy, I didn't tell you. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. I'm recording this. I'll put it up also on the Instagram, IGTV. I'm sorry.
You hear from my lawyers.
I'm sorry. I don't dig you. I don't beg. I don't beg you. I'm so sorry. I'm going to record this for the purpose. Yeah. Okay. So welcome guys. I'm really happy. I'm excited. Yeah. And Shoebox, don't worry. You are still coming to town physically. Let all this Koro misbehavior calm down.
Calm down. Yeah. No problem.
When it calms down.
You know, everybody that's serious about like art and creativity has to have like a very strong link with Benin. If you're Nigerian or you're not.
But actually, yeah, it's true. I believe you. So how's the family for you?
Fine. Oh, I was about to tell Bernard that I'm about to welcome him to the
folk.
To the family.
Welcome. We are we're waiting for you.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. Honored, so honored to be numbered among honorable men as thee.
The great man. Okay, someone else has joined. Ogaga, welcome. Yeah, yeah. So Edgar is on his way. I think he's trying to join. Actually, I'm in Port Harcourt. I had an impromptu movement to Port Harcourt. So
Oh wow!
yeah, I was supposed
How
to be
long are
in
you now
Benin.
in Port Harcourt?
I have been here for 2 days now, but I should leave today after the session. Hopefully, if we finish
Oh,
on time. Yeah, I'm in Port Harcourt.
I should be in Port Harcourt next week.
Oh, nice, nice. Next week I'm in Benin, but the upper week we are all road leads to the eastern part of the country. For the man,
Ah,
for the man there,
see
for
how
the
he was
man.
even laughing. My
Ogaga,
God.
welcome. Yeah. So one person has joined us. Ogaga, welcome. Yeah. So,
Hello.
Dog,
yeah.
I like the suit you have on. So nice.
Thank you.
So by 10, 10, 10, I'm going to go live on Facebook. So yeah, another one's come. Yeah. Good.
That thing you said about Benin and connection and this thing, that thing is valid though.
It's very strong. Well, I know that it might not be public opinion, but it's
Exactly. It's an unpopular opinion, but the voice of the people is not the voice of God. So
that's like the strongest. That's the strongest. Let's say that's the place that has the strongest documentary of our history,
yeah.
and all of that, and unconsciously, like it's part of their own culture now, like art, creativity, um, photography in general. Like I don't know how to say it, just the arts in general is very very strong part of their own system. So it's somewhere to touch base with. It's just like how if you want to do commercial music and all of that, you need to touch base with Lagos.
Yeah.
Being a place for like creativity and creatives generally. I believe so.
It's valid. It's valid. But there's a sad part that's happening right now. Like for the palace of the king that used to have these mud walls all around it.
Yes.
We woke up one morning and discovered the guys making concrete walls.
The guys are doing what? Making concrete walls.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Before we start, I heard about a story about I don't know how true it is about
You do not vex.
I heard that Benin used to have like a wall, like walls that were like I don't know if it's that palace, but it used to have walls that were as long and as big, if not bigger than the walls of China.
Yeah, they are. True.
Long time ago.
True. The walls are still there, but sadly it has turned to drainage pattern now. Drainage plains actually. They send water there and they send trash there. So
okay, so we can't take pictures of it or like make like
okay, hold on. I will share. Let me share one screen with you so you can see what it looks like. Part of it looks like today. He's a sad look.
From white people or people that are professors of African study and not from like
Tolaish.
This is just funny, man.
Yeah, it is. Hold up, I'll show it to you now. Who else is there? Yeah, I'm trying to open up the page so you can see it.
Okay.
Sorry, I have the flu. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Tolani.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, where are you now? There you go. All right. So I'll share that with you now so you can see. Somebody actually did the story of the current state of the moats today. So let me share that with you so you can see. Welcome everybody. Where are you now? Yeah, there you go. Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
You can see that. Can you see that is one of the walls turned into a refuse dump right now.
Yeah.
So they send water like this from everywhere in town, leading to the moats. So it has become where you send. You see this big drains through it. Actually, some pass through that moat now, through those walls. Yeah. So, but some of us are trying to. Okay, this is the scary look. You see this whole line you're seeing there. That whole line with devils is actually part of the wall. So that wall actually goes around town. So this is a drone picture of that same side.
It goes round town.
Yes, it goes around Benin. It goes around
Yeah.
the kingdom. Yeah, it goes around the
Wow.
kingdom. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you can see the present state. Yeah. So the issues are a lot. The issues are a lot, but we just have to take them one at a time. We have to take them one at a time. But that's a sad reality, honestly. It's a sad reality. So that's just one face of it. So how can we tell these stories from our point of view and make people begin to see why they should preserve these things? Like for you now, you heard it from maybe history books or stuff,
Yeah.
but this is what we see on ground,
Yeah.
and people don't understand this part of history, and that is why we're looking at narrations. That how can we begin to frame these narrations for us as photographers to begin to welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Rack, rack.
I'm sorry I'm joining now. A little bit of technical issues.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Yeah, in Nigeria, yeah.
Okay, so it's 10 o'clock. We're going to go live on Facebook shortly. Yes.
Hello.
So what?
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, welcome. Say you soft. I like people that are soft like this. So see everybody's soft. Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah. So yeah, we are here. I'll just wait for a few more people. So I think I should make you guys understand. We're recording this, and it's also live on Facebook. So be your best behavior, so that everybody sees.
Not tell me. Let Asha. That's how we're starting. Mr. Edgar, you're not moving. Network here.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so is Edgar back now? I think I should just take off this voting room thing. Please join me. Is Edgar back? So we're actually live on Facebook now. So waiting for Edgar to connect, so we could go ahead and start in earnest. Yeah. So we have Bernard is here, Victor is here, Ella is here. Omoregie just signed in, so he's joining. It's just left with Ken Henshaw, who will be giving us some political context and social context of narrations and all those kind of things. But while we're here, can we just so in the chat box I put the agenda for the day, so we could just go through it and see just a guide as to what we'll be doing today. Edgar is not back. Okay, yeah. So, but anyways, while we wait for Edgar to join us, I'm going to introduce the talk for today and introduce us. For those who don't know us, this is Wale my name is Wale Babawale Obayonju. I co-host Tell That Story with Edgar Imafidon. We are based in Benin City, but it's an idea that came up some 4 years ago, after we attended TNC in Lagos. We realized TNC was a good platform to engage. How many of us know what TNC is? The Now Collective, hosted by Sotu. Bernard was a speaker there, I think last year. T.Y. Bello has been there to speak, and all the big names. So he's trying to bring the West and those in the South to connect them. That's people from the abroad, like we said, and people from the local to come together and share. So we found out that documentary photographers or people don't tend to to want to believe that documentary photography is a way of life that people could embrace and have a voice and have a living from it. And we also saw that many people are not so interested. They are so interested in events where the bread will come. No. But the real, for us, we realize that true stories that would live after us, way long after we've gone, are the documentary stories we tell every day. So we decided to say, okay, create the platform where we can empower photographers to tell their stories, the way they see daily lives, travels, places, events, histories, everything, and make a history for children that are born and those yet unborn, and even our own generation. So Tell That Story is a platform open up to photographers from anywhere in the world, especially first from Nigeria, then Africa, then the rest of the world, to tell our stories by ourselves from the place of strength, from the place of grace, for the world to see who we are and understand where we are coming from and where we are at the moment. So that is also, we could also we have some stories on our website already, tellthatstory.com.ng. You could find that and see some stories of different photographers across the world. So that is part of who we are. We started Exposed. We started the first speaker we ever had to talk about documentary photography was Bernard Kalu. And we are also very glad that he is here with us today. So Bernard Rakadeni, we salute you. So this morning, Edgar is going to introduce us to our talk, and Omoregie is here also. So we have our speakers, Omoregie, we have Bernard, we have Ella, we have Ken. Henshaw is not here yet, and our great Shoebox, Victor, who was at the right place at the right time to create that awesome image. So I'm going to leave the floor now to Edgar to speak to us and welcome everybody. Omoregie, welcome. Thank you, Edgar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Wale. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Ogashu boss, good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir.
Like my eyes much better right now. Ella, we haven't met before, but I guess we follow each other online, and I'm happy for the community that we have. It's kind of strong. I'm really blessed to be among this community, and going forward, when we were thinking about this, when the whole episode was unfolding, we knew we had to have this kind of discussions, particularly as photographers who were part of the process as it unfolded. I think we were blessed to be a part of it. So going forward, I haven't welcomed everybody. Omoregie, I don't know if you're hearing me. Are you guys hearing me, Omoregie?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, all right. Omoregie, welcome.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I think he's still struggling.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead. All right, so welcome everybody. And
thank you so much. Pretty sorry, my network, man. I've been.
Yeah. Oh. Hello? Omoregie, can you hear me? Shoebox, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Edgar.
Okay, so
I guess
I'll just assume that we are all hearing, and I'll just go ahead.
Exactly.
Can hear you.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so basically, it's about shaping the narrative from a photographer's standpoint, knowing that we are the privileged ones to do these things, and it was really big for me to be in the middle of it as it unfolds, particularly for you guys who are in Lagos, which was the epicenter, and Abuja, which was another major place. For us in Benin, it wasn't as heavy as that, but it was really very dramatic as well. So shaping the narrative for us is how we best will go forward with this, deciding how the world perceives us. A big take for me is this. It is very clear that the protest was not the riots. And I think photographers contributed in showing that the protest was not the riots. Are you listening to me? Are you getting me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I hear you.
Yes. So it was very clear, and that for me was a big one. That if we didn't do the things that we did visually, a number of these things would have been confused for the riots, and that wasn't the case. I don't know if you agree with me. If you disagree, it's completely okay. So going forward, Shoebox, I like to start with you, saying that your photograph was the icon, give or take. Most people will agree. Yeah. So how do you think that we can best begin to narrate our stories in the best way? In fact, this morning I was trying to go through most of the headlines around that period and to see exactly how they told the story. In fact, most of the photographs that came from the major newspapers were from photographers. And that for me was a very big one. So starting with Shoebox, I'd like to know how do you think you can best take this thing one step further?
Okay, so hello everybody. I actually didn't expect to speak first, but let me just go ahead and get it out of the way and stuff. I'm sure some other people would have even said what I want to say now. But so I think the critical thing is just knowing how important, like this for example, this the NSAS movement actually opened my eyes to how important it is that we are part of the system. I'll give you like examples, but let's just digress a bit. I don't know, has anybody seen the recent Netflix documentary? I don't know who did it. It's called The Journey of an African Colony. The story was a story about Nigeria.
No.
Recently. Okay, just to break it down for you. After seeing that documentary, I realized that Nigeria is actually people like Lord Lugard were actually not our heroes. If anything, there were people, I'm sorry to say, but there are people that were just there to milk us and make sure that we don't develop and all of that. But we as a country like give them so much props, for naming the country and being part of our existence and all of that. In fact, the way they ruled Nigeria at the time, just before the independence, they just ruled for the sake of exploiting as much as they could. That was what I learned from that narration, from somebody going back and trying to retell the story about Nigeria. And how is that important, like to what we're doing here today? It just tells me that. Okay, let me just tell you a bit of story. If for example you have people experience that. Some people are from families where the parents are divorced. You will notice that if you stay with your father more, because you are inclined to his own story and his own perspective, you would think your mom was the problem. And if you were with your mom, you would think your dad was the problem. Yes. And that just tells you that nobody will ever tell you a story from the perspective of them being the issue. Everybody will tell a story in a way that it will favor them. As much as photojournalism and documentary should always be about like being objective and all of that, everybody would always paint the picture in a way that it will suit them best. And why am I saying this? So there's like a very, very huge responsibility on us as Nigerians to be present, to be able to tell our story the way we want to be perceived. I know that I'm basically just reiterating like what this whole thing is about, but it's very, very important. Not even just about us now, it's just about being able to. When I sat down to actually think about, I went for the protest because I wanted to protest, because I was tired of Nigeria. And because I wanted to tell a story, I was hoping to get like an image or two that would be nice. But to be honest, I had no idea. Like, it started to dawn on me when I started to see like, pictures that are taken somewhere far away. Somebody else is using it like on their posters. People are making billboards of it. How it inspired my other colleagues, my other photography friends to go out the next day. Because I remember very well, like the day I was about to leave for the protest, some of my friends were like, there's this undertone among all of us that Nigeria can never really get better. Like if you just go there, you're just endangering yourself for nothing and all of that, blah, blah, blah. But I saw that whole story move from there to, like you can actually make an impact just because they saw a picture that became viral and became like part of the movement, and people that knew me and knew the picture wanted to be part of it. You understand? So it's a very strong way to inspire people to being part of, being there at the right time, and being running towards stories is actually a very, very important duty that we owe ourselves and our future as photographers, as documentary photographers. And also it can make so much, like we probably don't even know how far it can actually reach, like in terms of impact and all of that. So it's very, very important, and we need to actually take that bull by the horn if we as Africans or as Nigerians want to be seen as better or from a different perspective from how the world paints us and all of that. I think it's one of the people on Tell That Story that we were discussing one time, and they were telling me how when you think about Africa, like the narrative has always been, that child with flies in their eyes, and all of that. That's always been the story but it's like that because the only people that are there to tell the stories are not us and all of that. I remember when I was doing my master's degree in the UK, people would walk up to me or people would chat with me about Africa, and they'd be like, so like, what are the houses like? Like, do you guys live in mud houses, or like, do you have a pet lion? And some of them are actually not joking. And I was like, I can't even know when I told one of them, you think it's these wooden houses that you guys live in here that we live in back home. We have like proper made like homes. I don't even understand where you guys come up with this kind of stories from. Or someone will tell me, your English is really good. I'm like, yes, thank you. You too. Your English is really good. Like, how come? Because I cannot understand how. I cannot understand. People are actually ignorant, and it's partly our fault. That's just what I'm trying to even say about all of this. It's partly our fault because we are not, going there to share. And now we're in a very good time where, like, the media does like large percentage of the work for you. All you just need to do is be there, tell the story as best as you can, and let the media propagate like your news for you and all of that. So without going in circles and just talking too much, I just think that now is the time for all of us to be there as much as possible. It's on, for example, talking about the NSAS protest and all of that. Anybody that is sensible will know that even the narrative that the government was trying to shape was not the truth. And that is because people came out in their numbers to tell the stories from their own perspective and all of that. So it's not about the most fancy pictures and all of that. It's just about showing up. It's just about being there to help shape the narrative.
Yeah, true. So I'll come in here. Thanks for those very insightful and important points you've made. Like you said, the images we see that have told the story of Nigeria, of Africa, the rest, even for someone to have said that a foreigner discovered River Niger is an error. Because before the foreigner got here, our forefathers lived in that river. They knew where the source was. They knew the flow. They knew the direction. They knew what existed there and all this kind of stuff. But because they were the first and they had the medium to push out these stories, they did that and made the world think Africa is like this. As like you said, when you travel, some people will tell you that is Africa a country? Have you not heard as if Africa is one small place that you just go to? So it's how we tell the stories. So very important point you made, and I really appreciate you for that. So we're going to come back to you shortly. So welcome everybody. If you have comments or questions, you could use the chat box and just drop your message there, and somebody will be there to respond to you and get your point out. So back to the discussion. That those points you made were really excellent. So I'll get to Bernard now. Bernard, I know you've been in the forefront of documentary photography in Nigeria, and for many of us, we really appreciate the work you do. Like Shoebox was saying, Shoebox said he's just coming here to talk because Bernard is coming here to give. Although he was joking, but he made very salient points. So Bernard, I would like to hear your own point of view about this narration. What do you think this narrative you're talking about? Because now have you guys noticed that the new cliche word now is narrative? Like it used to be with wedding photography back in the days. You see everybody say, I will document your wedding in a photojournalistic way. It was the cliche at that time. But now the new cliche is we are trying to reshape the narrative. What is this thing about narrative? And what do you think is the implication for us as creatives in Africa? So I'll leave the space for Bernard to come in here before Omoregie. Omoregie, are you ready? No, Bernard, I think Omoregie is frozen. So Bernard, the floor is open to you now. Thank you.
Hello everybody, good morning. So honored to be here. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Omoregie, what's up? Hello.
Yeah, so Bernard, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that I'm so honored to be amongst everybody. I see very strong
I'm fine, bro.
men
What's up,
and
man?
women. Hello.
Go ahead, Bernard. Go ahead, Bernard.
Oh, okay. So hi everybody, Omoregie, Mr. Edgar, Mr. Victor, Ella, Big Chris, everybody I hail. I'm really so honored to be here. So talking about documentary photography, I don't think I would want to stick my head out as one of the documentary photographers in this part of the world. We have a lot of elders. We have the likes of, even though I don't know so many of them personally, the Giorgio Shodis and the likes that went ahead of us. We have the likes of Andre Siobo, amazing. Tom Sata, Alavi Sama, even this Omoregie man here. Like the list is a lot, is endless. So I'm honored. Like it's an honor to stand on their shoulders. The truth is this: I feel like this is one of the best times to be alive because, like I told someone when we were photographing the protest, I said that I don't think it's ever been a record that there was any time we had a full blown up protest like this and we had this amount of storytellers documenting it. Like the government has never had it like this before. Like Nigeria has never experienced it like this before. I mean, beyond the professionals like us, we have those that had vloggers, we had people that had cameras that were just doing for their YouTube, doing for Instagram, doing for their social media. So this is an awesome time to be alive, even though the challenges are still there. So I think it's something to point out. Well, I'll start with a quote that Steve Jobs made. He said something. He said something about the storyteller. He says the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. Steve Jobs made this quote. Now, like Mr. Wally talked about narrative. Narrative is a word that has been flung around very lately. And what is narrative? Narrative is basically just giving a story, narrating a story, telling a story. That's what narrative is. And every narrative is always dependent on the storyteller's perspective. you can only paint a picture from your own point of view. I don't know if you get. Please, if I'm not communicating, somebody should let me know.
You are communicating.
Zoom is very wonderful. You can just be talking to yourself and be.
You are communicating.
Yeah. So the whole idea of narrative, without a storyteller, there's no narrative. Without a story, there's no narrative. So basically, narrative is just about telling a story, and the story you're telling has to have a perspective. It has to have either the perspective of the storyteller, you're telling in the first person, or you're telling in the second person, or in the third person. So now, with the idea of Nigeria, the Nigeria creative space, it's no news that we've suffered so much as a media-wise, like on the global space. Like Mr. Victor was telling us on how you go to Yankee, people that are from even Mexico that are not supposed to know English will be telling you that your own English is good. We're like, I mean, our lingua franca is English language. Like, Britain colonized us. How else am I supposed to speak English? Like, how else is my English supposed to sound? I mean, it's still funny because many of us still have to write IELTS when we have to maybe like go abroad or have to do anything, maybe go to school. Imagine you were colonized by Britain and you still have to write to prove that you know how to speak English language. Besides writing this IELTS, the IELTS still expires after 2 years, meaning it's possible that you can forget how to speak English in 2 years' time. So there's actually it's a big problem. It's actually a big problem. And as I said earlier, that it's actually a great time because we have a lot of young people that have risen to the challenge of like taking this bull by the horn, telling our stories basically. So there's too many things there's too many things to share about the story. But as a photographer, for instance, I would like to say that the biggest challenge we can have with telling stories is to make sure we don't fall into the trap of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, how will I explain this now? How many of us have heard of the single story, The Danger of the Single Story by Chimamanda Adichie? Yeah, so there's something called the single story, and Chimamanda, the feminists in the house, I'm sure they'll be waving their hands. the queen of all of them. So she said something that was so striking. She said something about how the single story is let me read it verbatim so I don't misquote her. I think I have it somewhere here.
Bernard, you have a slide, right?
Yeah, but my slide is very.
Do you want?
Okay,
disjointed.
Okay,
if you want to share, you can share.
Let me see if I just share it.
Yeah.
Okay. Share screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So
Good.
So aside with what's the narrative, we all know what narrative is. Basically, story is a story, it's telling a story. And the thing about narrative I didn't mention earlier is, okay, we have true or fiction kind of narratives. Now, as photojournalists, we have this very ideal standard that, when you're telling a story, it has to be true, and there are ethics to follow, there are guidelines to follow, and it stands. But we should also know that stories are not bound to just being a true event. I mean, in the Bible, Jesus Christ told parables. Jesus Christ is one of the greatest storytellers that's ever walked the face of this earth. Like, there's something I heard one man said. He said if he had, I think it was T.D. Jakes, he said if he had the opportunity of choosing what he wants to be in this life, he'll be a storyteller. And everything still goes, because all truths are parallel. So everything still boils down to even what Steve Jobs said about how the greatest person in the world is the storyteller, because he literally creates the future. So let's not be bound by saying, except you're telling something that happened truly, you're not telling a story. You can actually, conceptual photography is still around fiction. everything is just, you're trying to push an idea, push an agenda. That's just what telling a story is. So let's not be bound by, oh, except it happened, I'm not telling it, or calling people fake or calling people real. So this picture, I picked up this picture to say something. I picked it up off online. Now this picture, this very picture happened the same day.
Yeah.
And you had two photographers photograph this thing. And the person by his side photographed the first one, and the person in front of him photographed the second one. Now, imagine, close the one down, imagine that the world only saw the one on top. They will be like, oh, what's Prince Charles feeling like? Has Harry influenced him? He's now a bad boy. you get. So this is how powerful being a storyteller is. You can literally make or mar a people or a thing. So that's why I said this next thing. Perception is reality. Now, true stories, true narratives, you can give a perspective about a thing or about a people or about a place. Now, most times you might not have there's something they say about first impression, that you only have you can't make a first impression twice. So sometimes the stories,
you only have an opportunity.
Yeah, the stories you send out, like let's just say you like the biggest issue we used to have about people that want to do documentary photography or even street photography is in our minds we've studied a lot of photographs of white photographers and professional photographers, and most times when these people come here, you're as human beings, you're easily drawn to what is new to you. I mean, you can't come from California, for instance, and come and be taking houses in Banana Island. I mean, you always see big houses in California. So there's no way you come to Lagos and be going to trying to photograph Banana Island, because I mean, it doesn't mean anything to you. Instead, you'll be drawn to a place like Makoko because you don't see things like that easily in California. And it doesn't mean there are no poor people there, but it's not as rampant to you. So you're drawn to something different. Now, these guys come and take these pictures. Then we that now this is our place. When we now want to start our own career, we'll now be looking for Makoko to take Makoko pictures. And it's actually a problem because it's easy to blame and say, oh, photographers, you need to do better, but you won't blame them. I mean, most of the pictures they've consumed till date has those kind of pictures, has that poverty porn kind of images. So they're always drawn to create what you can only create from what you've seen before. So they're always drawn to create things they've seen before. So now that information is coming to you, or knowledge is coming to us, it's important we now literally take the discipline of shifting our gaze. Now, nobody's saying you should not take pictures of Makoko, but balance the narrative. Don't just be hammering on one side. Nigeria or Lagos is bigger than Makoko, for instance. So perception is reality, because if you keep pushing one picture, people now believe that everything about that place or that people is one thing, while nobody is just one thing. People, like human beings are complex. You're not just the product of the biology or integrated science you did in secondary school. Like human beings are full of there's too many things that make up a human. It's not just one thing. So perception is reality. So I was talking about the danger of a single story. Let me just quickly read. Chimamanda Adichie uses the phrase single stories to describe the overly simplistic and sometimes false perceptions we form about individuals, group, or countries. The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing, over and again, and that is what they become. So this is actually the bane of what I would like to talk about today. The fact that, there's actually a danger of a single story. But like the example I gave on how, because a lot of these white photographers come and they are drawn to poverty porn images of Africa, or maybe because of sometimes not just that they're drawn to it, just because of what they understood that, we colonize these people are black, they're poor. So when they come, because of the information they have in their mind, they are just drawn to those things. Now, we too that are here, because they come and photograph those things, we too, that's the only thing we want to talk about. Now, you're not surprised if someone like Victor goes to the UK, they're not asking him, do you have pet lion? I mean, who has a pet lion? So it's important that we don't narrow our stories. We are bigger than one thing. Like, we're way bigger than one thing. Now, the way to avoid the single story is simple, as Chimamanda advised. She says, read, listen, and absorb. Now, the biggest challenge with a lot of us as storytellers is that we don't read enough. We don't read enough. It's actually a problem. Even me, like I used to be very guilty of it. Like I'm like, more this reading thing. Like many of us have issues with reading, and the thing with reading is this. We used to think creativity is just something that just dawns on you, like you're just in your room, one light just shines in your head. That's not what creativity is.
Hit you hammer.
That's not what creativity is. Creativity comes from. It comes from, like, it's, how do I put it now? It comes from a place, and knowledge is how you enrich where your creativity comes from. Like, there's no way you can create from a blank space,
Canvas.
from a blank mind, literally. So your mind needs something to work with. That's what books do. Like, beyond books, even videos, movies. Like, I mean, our generation is so beautiful now that we don't have to just focus on letters. Now we have videos, there's so, like, what's it called, the Netflix instance Victor gave us about what's the story? I've not finished it.
The story of an African.
Journey of
The story of an
African colony.
Yeah, the Nigerian.
The link is actually in the chat box. I just dropped it there.
Oh,
so
okay,
people who have not seen it can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's important we take time to actually learn our stories. I was listening to an Instagram live recently by Seun Kuti. Seun Kuti, I don't know how many of us saw that Instagram live. He was talking about how, NSAS is actually a problem, but it's like the littlest of the whole problems that we have as a country. He was talking about, even related, took it all the way back to colonialism. How many of us subconsciously, we still have that mindset of colonial masters. I mean, somebody has money, somebody has access to food, and he would rather hoard it and use it for his birthday to feel like, I'm master, you people are slaves, I'm your benefactor for something that is not your property, something that was given to you to give the people. How can you tell me that's not still colonial mindset? So it's not,
that's colonial mindset.
So it's something we need to literally educate ourselves, so that because without education, without like learning or reading and stuff, I used to be guilty about it. I mean, I love street photography till tomorrow. So that's why I'm not really so like, I've had conversations with mentors. They're always talking about, you need to do stories. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm working on stories, but I'm not like, because of my sort of, I like being sure of my words. I don't like throwing words anyhow. So before I do a story, I need to be sure that I have ground, like my knowledge on it is good enough before I can say, this is what I want to talk about. This is what people should hear from me. Instead, I'll just rather be doing my street photography until that happens. So it's important to actually read and study, like know what, because if you don't get enough information, you can go out and shoot the protest like everybody, but you're shooting, like the depth won't be the same.
Let me, like you just like sparked something in my mind. So yeah. I've seen like documentary photographers. I don't know if, I'm sorry, I just got it, but I've seen documentary photographers that want to go to document someone, to do a documentary of someone. Yeah. And just the way they have taken time to study that person and almost written an autobiography of the person, almost even helps the person to accept them when they want to make like pictures or whatever of the person and all of that. So yeah. I can understand that it's very, very important that you have context before you go back to try to build any story on anything.
Yeah.
Have you guys faced an international maybe international journalists before, if you find out to what you wore, like if they interviewed you last year, for example, they interviewed you in June last year, and you're wearing a black t-shirt with written on it, maybe your face is big. By when they come to you in January and you're wearing that same t-shirt, your face is big, they will tell you that last year, June, on this day, you wore this shirt to come for this interview. That is how these guys take the detail of, the issue of understanding who they are going to interview, for example, for them is, so that point is very valid.
Yes, so it's important we because, for instance, now the biggest word that's been flying around during this post, the protest and all, has been hoodlum. Small thing, hoodlum did this. What happened? Hoodlum did this. What happened to the hoodlum did that? Now, if you're just like rolling, like you're not given to trying to learn things, or you're not open to listening or absorbing information or reading, you would just, like, you literally be floating. Your story won't have depth. When they tell you, like, you won't even be able to ask, who are these hoodlums? Are they are they spirits, or are they human beings? Like, there are lots of things that will be lost on you. Then they say the whole concept about embracing your own identity. Now, you need to know yourself before you need to know your identity before you embrace it. Many of us are even at the place where we've not even known ourselves yet. So because you've not known yourself, it's possible to go every other place, like keep running round circles, trying to get the latest, for instance, get the latest gear, or just doing everything apart from doing what you should do, or doing things that you will do best from who you are, from where you are. There are things that Ogawale can do because of who he is that I will not be able to do well. But the only way that we can know, or the only way that can be seen, is if both of us have good knowledge of who we are and to work from that perspective. And the last one, like she mentioned, is understanding your power. Understand your power. Now, I gave the quote from Steve Jobs, where he's talked about the storyteller being the most powerful person in the world. Because, like that picture I showed on how this man had 3 fingers and had 1 middle finger, you're able to make or mask somebody just by the stories you tell. Now, there's something I want to say. When I was photographing the protest, like, a lot of things were happening at the same time. I mean, I don't think I've ever been in the middle of so many people of different standings in the society with so much oneness before in this country. Like, it was crazy. Like, you had the bankers, the middle class, the supposed area boys, everybody were together, and there was so much, like, there was this synergy that I've not seen before in my life. Now, but when I was taking pictures, there was a picture I took of a guy that had he was smoking weed. Now, because of how aesthetics works for me for when I take photographs, there are things that get my attention. So I'm drawn to light, I'm drawn to elements, I'm drawn to smoke, I'm drawn to different elements. So what took that picture was not like that, it was very instinct. Like, I just saw the way the thing worked, and I just turned and I took it, and it was really beautiful. Like, till today, it's one of the beautiful pictures I made from that protest. But I had the obligation not to share it, because if that picture goes out, automatically the people that have been saying hoodlums did that exactly. would be their placard photo that, oh, this is it. But mind you, everybody was there. The area boy, the elite or the middle class, we're all there. So are you saying because people all gathered there, like, I mean, someone that has an habit shouldn't do his habit because I don't know if you get, like, you can't summarize everybody by one person. You understand? But I was knowledgeable enough to know that if this picture goes out, with like the way I was posting pictures that period, that definitely people that have been wanting excuse will be like, look at them. Like all of a sudden, everybody, whether Mr. Wale was there in the protest or whether Mr. Victor, everybody would have just been that same person smoking the hand that I posted. I don't know if you get. So that's the kind of power we have as storytellers. The fact that you see something happen doesn't mean that thing everybody has to say it. You have to know, what narrative you're pushing. And remember, your power can make or mar as a storyteller.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Bernard. Edgar, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so fine. Edgar, take it over from me. I think Omoregie should be next. You can welcome Omoregie and have him talk to us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bernard.
Really eye-opening. Thank you. Omoregie. Hello, Omoregie.
Okay, I think Omoregie has left the scene again. Yeah, but Ella is here, so you could go to Ella. Ella, you still here?
I'm not sure Omoregie is like.
Okay, is Ella still around? Okay, Ella is here. Yeah, fine. So you could go to Ella now.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, fine. That's good.
So, Edgar?
Yes.
Edgar, go ahead. Yeah.
Ella, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. What from your perspective, and how best do you think we go further with this?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, let's hear from you, basically.
Okay. Look, can you repeat your question?
Like, what exactly? Bernard just shared his own points on what he thinks the narrative should be and how we should be careful to shape, particularly with the image of the guy who was weeding, or smoking weed rather. From your own perspective, how best do you think, or what do you want to contribute to this whole stuff?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. Being a documentary photographer, one of the things that was careful about. So when I started out in 2017, I was my dream, my aim was to express myself and tell stories of people and things around me. But in 2018, I started to be more intentional with the kind of stories I wanted to tell. Like Bernard said, there were so many stories, there were so many narratives out there, especially from Africa, like we are poor or all that. So I started to be more intentional. So for me, I tell stories that because Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, we are many things. We are not just poor or we have bad government and all that. And I think my stories or the kind of stories I tell now, they are like they're showing different aspects of us as people. They're showing being a female or being a man in Nigeria. There are different aspects of us, and that's the kind of narrative I'm pushing out there. Like there are more to us than just being a poor country or being in Africa or we being a disadvantaged community. So I think when during the protest, I was really involved with some other thing, but I was eager to document the protest. And when the opportunity came, I was really excited because I wanted to be part of history. Because at that time, Nigeria was there was so many attention on Nigeria at that time. So my plan was to capture emotions, was to capture the struggles, the pain of Nigerian youths that were tired. Because at that point, I've never experienced something like this before in my life. Like it was at that point that everybody was just like we were just tired. Everybody was tired of what was happening in Nigeria. People like when I went out to protest, I saw it was like all of us we had one thing in common. Like there was something that held us together. Something that it was like everybody there was a common goal. Like we all felt the pain because my brother has been harassed before by SARS. If you go there, you see someone that knows someone or someone that has been harassed. So it was something that we're connected. And for me, I wanted to capture that in my images and I was deliberate about that. And that was what I did. I wanted to capture the emotions, the struggle, the pain from Nigerian youth. And I
So,
think
so,
that's what.
so, Edgar, Ella. So now, as being a woman, I know it's a, like you said, now it's a patriarchal world we live in. We live in a man-dominated world. How did you cope as a woman, a young woman for that matter, amidst many young and old male photographers? How were you able to stand your ground and make the stories from your point of view, from your perspective during this uprising or during your work as a photographer?
Okay, for me, I don't see myself as a female documentary photographer. I see myself as a documentary photographer. So, like, to be honest with you, I don't think I have any challenge being a woman that I go out to document. The only challenge I might have, most times people tend to like downplay your efforts or see you as people will say, they're just woman. I think she's a sometimes I get that a lot, even from their look or their expression. But apart from that, being a woman, I think I use that to my advantage because most times I get all the access I need, and people I get trust easily from people. Like people tend to like to trust me and all that. I don't know, maybe because I'm a woman, but I don't feel being a woman in a patriarchal world has ever been has been limiting to my career or has been limiting when I go out to document. It's the other way around. I get more access. And when I went out for the protest, I wasn't documenting as a female documentary photographer. I was documenting as a documentary photographer. In fact, I don't even when I go out, I don't see myself as a female or I try to, I'm tired or something. I go out and I work. And most times too. Okay, fine. I got harassed a lot. Most times people like, because of my shape. I remember one time one of the touts, they're like, mama, come here now. Sassy you fine. See your they're talking about my physique and all that. So that's the only thing, really. But other than that, I had all the access I need, and I don't think it was a big deal, really.
All right. Thank you. Edgar, is
Sorry,
is Omoregie back? Is Omoregie back now?
I actually have some images that I would like to share. Some images that.
Yeah, you could share it and talk to us about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember when the protest started. There were so many roadblocks and everything, and to be honest, I was wondering if people were actually angry, like some people that were actually busy, like people that go to work. I was wondering if people were angry and if people were not really in support of how because then I remember I was going to work because I was engaged in some other thing at the office, and sometimes it takes like hours to get to office and all that. I had mixed feelings because I was like, this protest, everywhere is blocked. Where are you going to pass? But it was amazing that while we went out to protest, people on the road, people that maybe of course that had something to do, they were happy. I could see their expression. I could see them proud of us, like, this is generation that will change Nigeria. So I think that was what I focused more on. I focused on people's emotions and expression, and I also focused on let's say observers, people on the road that could
Yeah.
that
So
couldn't
so I
support
want
us.
to ask you a question now, Ella. You said you focused on people's expression, people's emotion, and like
Yeah.
Bernard was talking about perspective, pushing your idea. When you were photographing their expression, what was your thought like? Was it to show that Nigerians are happy people or Nigerians are sad people? Or what were you thinking about trying to capture? And what kind of emotions were you trying to evoke so that what kind of story they're going to try to tell with the images you created and the emotions you were trying to capture? What was going through your mind at that time?
Okay. Like when I said, most times you have to be when I capture images. At the same time, I have to be careful with the kind of narrative I'm pushing out there. During that time, there were so many narratives, more like people were going there to party and all that. So for me, I was the kind of images when I take a particular image, I look at the image. When I go back to my house and when I'm trying to like to edit and all that, I look at the image. I was like, okay, is this relevant to what I'm with the narrative that I'm trying to push out there? So when I look at it, if it's not relevant, I take it out. If it's something that is relevant, I put it out there. So let me just share my screen and show you some of the images. Okay. Can you see it? Can you guys see the images?
See it? I guess everyone can see it too.
Yes, okay. Yes. Okay.
Gang gang.
Okay, so this was what I was. This was it for me. I wanted to show. And at the same time, I didn't want.
Oh, what that one? Ella, are you still there? You frozen. Hello? Hello? Ella, are you there? Hello? Hello? Oh, no. I think we lost Ella. Ella, are you there? So why are we waiting for her to?
Wow.
She saw us okay, did do.
I really like this. Oh.
I like this one.
Yeah.
This was the candle night. The candle night was really emotional for me. At some point, I almost cried, but I had to just hold it in, and it was really really emotional for me.
It feels more like an observer, like you are observing.
Yeah.
That's it.
I really like the picture, like the idea you shared about like what Edgar just said, observing the observers, like that whole the countenance of people that were not particularly part of the protest, but like showed their how like put it, how they felt about it. Like it was like that. I like the angle you brought there. It added more value to the pictures you were sharing. Because if I had just seen those pictures of people doing like just waving, it won't have made that much meaning to me until you mentioned the things you said now. Thank you.
And just to add to what Bernard said initially, when I just started out, like you said, you get drawn to new things.
Yeah.
Everything on the street interested me, the poverty porn. But as I understood better and read,
Yeah.
I realized that I needed to fine tune what I was showing. But I have
Yeah.
a whole lot of those photographs, but I don't feel more morally just to share them anymore.
True.
Yeah, I was from what although it's part of what is going on, but that's not what I want to share.
That's not all that's going on.
Exactly, that's not what I want to share. What I want to share is okay. For instance, the equipment of last mile in Lagos. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, and from it's still ongoing in a sense, but I noticed the decline from.
Yeah. Hello.
Traffic. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, and those were the pictures I shared. I think at the TED talk I gave at one time,
Yeah.
and those are the things I wanted to be seen in where I was living, and I wanted others to see as well. So for me, it's more like I'm dropping down on the.
Edgar, your line is breaking.
That for me is how I'm beginning to change the narrative from where I stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So right now we have Ken Henshaw is in the house. Ken, are you there? Ken Henshaw, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Ken Henshaw is okay. Yes, thank you for coming. Ken Henshaw is he's an activist. I want to call him an activist, but he's a social studies and development activist based in Port Harcourt. He has been involved in a lot of struggles in Nigeria from his days in the university to the National Association of Nigerian Students days. And he's still doing a lot of work around shaping narratives, pushing out the right perspectives for people to begin to reason and think about how they should push out narratives. And like Bernard said while he was talking, and Shoebox also said the same, without a storyteller, there's no narrative actually. And perspective is always very important in our discussion. So Ken Henshaw is going to just talk to us briefly on the creative activist. What makes us, because we might not see ourselves as activists, but in actual sense, we are journalists, we are activists, because we are trying to push for a change somewhere along the line in our country, in our world, in our cities, and in Africa. So Ken Henshaw is going to speak to us this morning briefly about the creative activist, share some light on the political, social context of stories and narration. Ken, it's over to you right now.
Thank you so much, Wale, and thank you guys for having me. I came in when Ella was speaking, and those were beautiful photographs, by the way, fantastic shots. I wish I could use a camera. I can't differentiate between a camera and a bottle of water. yeah. I'm the least creative person you can imagine. I cannot sing. Well, I do write. I write. I cannot sing. I cannot take photographs. Nothing. And so I appreciate the art when I see what you guys do. Fantastic job capturing those moments. Yeah. But you know that a couple of years ago you were just a photographer. You were just a photographer. You probably be thinking about having a studio somewhere with some fancy backgrounds where people come sit down and then pay you some money. That's what. I mean, a few decades ago, that would have been it. That would have been it. But the creative is a journalist. Though many journalists do not want to admit it, right? But they are activists in a sense, because we are all interested in changing the world. We are people who are essentially dissatisfied with the state of affairs we have found our country, our society, and our world. And we are taking deliberate actions towards changing it, whether we agree or not. So what is, the fact of the matter, Wale, is that the struggle, when I got into the movement at the age of 16, yeah, it was very different from what you have today. Things were different, very different. So the struggle was you get on the street with a well-labeled placard, right? You protest and you grant a press conference, and that was it. That was what it meant to campaign, right? But gradually, in the about 2008, between 2008 and 2010, we saw a different kind of campaigning. We saw the Occupy model, where people would go somewhere and actually sit down there. Back in the days, you go for a public protest, somebody gives you a placard to take out there. These days, people just scribble their own placards, do their own designs, and take it out there. And then we have got these changing dynamics of struggles that require an even faster changing system of response. The world is changing. We're having new tools emerging. And so as creatives, the need for creative activism is embedded in the fact that we need to respond in a more dynamic way, and there needs to be a paradigm shift in how we respond to the realities of everyday struggle. And that's also because the opposition which activists face today is quite different from what it used to be in the past. And the power of that opposition keeps changing. So I live and work in the Niger Delta, where I have, program opponents that are in the oil and gas sector, opponents that are way richer and have much longer and farther reach than us. And so we have to continuously evolve new strategies of combating these emerging trends in the kind of opposition which we face. I often hear people say that, oh, you are a journalist, right? You need to be attended that I am objective. And I think that the word the objectivity is such a cliche, because really, in reality, there is no objectivity. Objectivity simply means allowing things to stray, go the way whichever way they want to go. But in my life and in my work, I have refused to do that. And so I deliberately inject my worldview into every story I tell and into every single campaign which I get involved in. I deliberately do that. Underneath every campaign is a contestation of ideas. Different ideas are battling themselves. Different ideas are fighting. So in 2012, we got on the streets in Nigeria with what they call Occupy Nigeria in 2012, so January 2012. And the campaign back then was on fuel subsidy. The underlying thinking about fuel subsidy on the part of the government was that the only way to fight corruption and to save money to be shared by the three different tiers of government was to remove fuel subsidy. That was a contesting idea on the part of the government. But we had a counter narrative, which we had to develop and push out into the popular discourse. And what was that idea? It is that a subsidy on the price of petrol was more than just subsidizing consumption. But when you live in a country that has no power, fuel subsidy was a subsidy on petrol, on power supply. Fuel subsidy was a subsidy on transportation. Fuel subsidy was a subsidy on small businesses. It was a subsidy much larger than what the government thought it was. And that the government should fight corruption, which it accused of fleecing the resources for subsidy, rather than fight Nigerians and put more difficulty on Nigerians. So we had to create a counter ideology, a counter idea, and fight. The struggle isn't a one-way traffic where a single idea is pushed out there. There are different layers and levels of contestation. And the creative activists at every point in time need to look beyond the surface, beyond the facade, and go into what are the real underlying narratives. To what extent do these struggles at the moment translate into tangible benefits for the people? How do we move from our everyday videography, photography, graffiti, poetry, music, to real social transformation? How do we use our arts to contest the prevailing ideas? The last protest which we had out there on the street was a show of strength, was a demonstration of strength. So the government admitted at some point that there was police brutality in Nigeria. They didn't lie about that. But what they simply said, and that's the narrative they have been holding for the last 2 decades or thereabout, is that police brutality was not as widespread as we claimed. It was just a few bad eggs, in quotes, that were corrupt, extorting, beating, killing, maiming, and all that. That was the narrative. But underneath our campaign on the street was another narrative that, no, look at our numbers out here. The millions of Nigerians that came out across different cities in the country demonstrated a counter narrative that this is not a minor secluded occurrence, that this was widespread practice that had become the modus operandi of the Nigerian police force. We created the counter narrative through our contestation on the streets. And that's why I make the point that every single struggle has got underneath it a fight of ideas. And we need to deliberately, using all our creative tools, to push what the appropriate narrative is. And how do we understand the appropriate narrative? Depending on the campaign we're involved in, the first thing we need to do is go into the local context. How does the issue of the campaign affect the everyday Nigerian? To what extent does it affect the way Nigerians live? So the government comes up with an idea, like okay, what idea do I use now? An increase in electricity tariff. It comes up with that, which is a more recent policy of the government to increase electricity tariff. What is the underlying thinking of the government? The government is clearly in collaboration with the power distribution companies to increase tariffs, even when power supply has not improved. How does this policy affect the everyday Nigerian out there? It has denied them access to electricity. It has reduced their standards of living. It has driven them farther below the poverty line. It has basically made their life more difficult. So the question we ask, what should our response be? What kind of response, what alternative course of action is important for us to counter that narrative of the government and make the life of the people better? And it's simple. Reversed electricity tariff increase. That's a counter narrative. Invest more in ensuring that every Nigerian has, sustainable power supply. Ensure that the distribution companies do what they promise to do, which is meter every household and charge, only charge for power that is consumed. That's a counter narrative. That's a counter narrative that promotes the livelihood and the welfare of the people. And that's what we need to continuously do. Continuously do. Ensure that the push of our creativity works towards changing the narrative and providing an alternative narrative. So we are not just bystander, people who just stand by the sideways and document information. Okay, so we saw the NSAS protest and we're documenting in photograph what is going on. No, beyond that, we need to tell the story from a point of view that suits our underlying ideology, our alternative paradigm, the story. So if, as a writer, when I am doing a research and I see an argument, no matter how compelling it is, if that argument does not sit well with the prevailing idea which I intend to push as my campaign, I drop it. I'm sorry, I have no apologies for it. I drop that idea and I go with what support, because I am an activist. I'm interested in changing the world in a certain direction. And so everything I use as my tool must be used to do that. And I'll conclude this very short conversation by talking about a very important creative, who ironically was killed exactly 25 years ago, 10th of November, 1995. I speak about Ken Saro-Wiwa. People know Ken Saro-Wiwa as an environmental activist. But beyond his environmental activism is how he used his creative abilities to push his environmental rights campaign. Ken Saro-Wiwa was a poet. I've read a couple of poems he wrote, and he used his poetry to further the cause of the fight in the Niger Delta. Ken Saro-Wiwa was also a writer. He wrote a couple of books, Bassi and Company, and so on. And he used his writing skills to further the cause of activism. He was a TV producer. He had a TV play that made the rounds called Bassi and Company. And he used that TV show to drive a certain narrative. His entire life, his entire art was dedicated to driving one narrative. And what was that narrative? The narrative that there was a corporate military wedlock, that there was a union between the Nigerian government and the oil company to deprive the Nigerian people, especially those in the Niger Delta, of their means of livelihood. And that the people of the Niger Delta were not getting a fair value from the resources that is theirs. He spent his entire life, he used his entire creative abilities, this one which has caught fire and has become the staple narrative in the Niger Delta, even after 25 years. And that for me is the power of defining the proper narrative that counters the opposing narrative and moves our everyday campaign for a better country in the right direction. I think I'll leave this conversation at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Ken, for those insightful and informative information you just passed to us. First, like I talked about, this is a contestation of ideas. We have to understand that. And for every struggle, there's an underlying ideology which we must embrace and push. We also said that we should always look beyond the surface whenever we're talking about or we're pushing for any idea or contesting any ideology. And we should always make sure we are providing a counter alternative narrative for every narrative or everything we're trying to push for. And I think these are salient points and very important stuff that we as creative need to put at the forefront whenever we are creating stories or making stories that will make the front waves or that will depict Nigeria or Africa or a particular issue in the way we want it to go. So thank you very much, Ken. And guys, if you have questions for Ken, the chat box is open. Please use it and get him to share some of the insight he has about activism. So next with us is Victor Zaviano. He's a videographer. He also documented the struggle. I don't want to call it the protest. I don't like to call it the protest. I'm calling it the ongoing youth uprising, because the protest was just one of the forms. The underlying ideas behind the protest that we call it, or the ongoing youth struggle, is far beyond just the NSAS. And I guess we saw it in the days that followed the protest, in quotes, that happened in Nigeria, that's happened in Nigeria. So Victor was also a part of the team who used his videography skills, his photography skills, and he also joined to organize some of the activities that happened in Benin City. So Victor Zaviano, are you there? He'll be sharing with us now on his own thoughts and how he went about documenting and pushing for a narrative to be shared during the course of the action that took place some weeks ago and are still ongoing now. So Victor Zaviano, the floor is yours now. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Zavi?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Yeah.
So can you turn on your video for a while so they can see your face? Yeah. Okay. I can see you now.
Video is turned on.
Is it shy like me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So nice. Yeah. Yes. I can see you now. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, my name is Victor Zaviano, and I'm a filmmaker and photographer based in Nigeria. During the protest, it was something that I have not had experience with photographing, like, or documenting large scale kind of protest scenes like that, where you have people clamoring for a change that everybody wanted. So it was something I've always wanted to do. Maybe when I got some offer to go out to document some war affected areas. So yeah, to me, I wasn't trying to document the bad side. Like, you know, there's this narrative thing that we all have agreed to that, because everybody I've spoken to have said, okay, the story is always like, the narrative is always the bad side, people trying to see the bad side of Africa, the bad side of Nigeria. If someone comes to my village now, I'm sure they'll be looking for hungry kids that look like they are dying very soon to photograph and use those narratives to say, okay, this is what is going on in this environment. But I was looking at the basic thing that I was looking at was the power in unity, because I saw that strength in everybody that was out there. I saw that power. I saw how much people could come together to try to speak one voice. Even people that were you could see rivals in different sects, right? People who were that were not together. It's like it's like you're watching football, how people come together to watch Nigeria play against another country. So I could see people that were of different rivals come together. They forgot their differences. So I was trying to document that. That's what made it possible for people that were in different, like, people that on a normal day, you see them fight. Like, if you're in an environment on a normal day, these are people you see like trying to harm themselves, yeah? But I could see them come together. To speak their pain. I could see them come together to, like, so I was trying to, some of the pictures I made and the videos I shot was telling that power in the unity and the togetherness we all have as Nigerians, even though we fight each other. So there's still that power for that. We love ourselves regardless of all. So that was what I was actually keen about documenting.
Yeah, so thank you, Zavi. That's a beautiful one. That you could see that from every one of us that were out there documenting the ongoing struggle. Everyone had a perspective that they came from, or an ideology that they came with to the protest. For someone like me, when I didn't want to join initially because I just felt
the Yahoo boys were leading it in quotes. But I realized at the end of the day, like midway, I realized this is an opportunity, man, for me to highlight some of the issues that I've been clamoring for in my corner. This was a good space to come out and join like-minded like myself and push for changes to happen. So when I went out to document the protest for me or the ongoing struggle, I was looking for stories that would help me push the kind of changes that I wanted to see. So that was what I was trying to do. So when I saw those boys burning tires, doing also, I didn't document those things. I chose not to do it because I didn't want them to see, because the narrative that we were seeing, they were hoodlums on the street. And these guys, for goodness, like Bernard said, and Victor Shoebox, these guys, I don't know who made them hoodlums, who calls them hoodlums, who gave them the title hoodlums. Some people were trying to push for a narrative to discredit our work outside. So I purposely refused to document those kind of images. I only put forward images that will show that we are one Nigeria, we are young people, we are calling for a change, and the change is what we want. And the kind of change that we want, where the kind of messages.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You could see Ella, you could see Victor, Shoebox, the iconic Victor picture of Aisha that made the rounds. I guess he was showing that first, in a patriarch, for me, I'm going to interpret it from my own perspective. In a patriarchal system, a woman led a struggle. She wasn't afraid. Then two, not just a woman in the hijab stood in front of the mammoth crowd and led young people to demand for a change. That's the kind of perspective I saw. And it was powerful because it came from a woman. So putting that kind of image in front, Bernard had one, Zavi had another one. Zavi was documenting. In the midst of this, we saw people trekking long distances with bags.
Yeah.
So they didn't mind.
One person's trekking long distances, bag children on their back. Yeah.
Zavi documented that part of the story, you know? And it's not everybody who saw it. We saw Ella's work. Ella was talking about expression, bystanders, expression of people on the sideline, what they were doing. So every one of us had. But in synergy, by the time we bring all our stories together and push it forth to the media, it shapes a narrative that we wanted the world to see. And Victor talked about the YouTube video he shared. If people don't go ahead to bring our own perspective of who we are, nobody's going to tell our story for us except we do the storytelling by ourselves. And like Bernard highlighted when he was talking, there is great need for us to take time out to read. We cannot run away from it. If we as creative want to shape an ideology, he also said you cannot do these things from a blank canvas, like a blank mind. Our mind have to have like a basis from which we will function. We have to read. And reading doesn't just mean you have to pick up a book. There are ebooks, there are e-movies, there are podcasts, and now we thank God for COVID. COVID has given us opportunity to attend meetings that hitherto we are not able to attend. There's some meetings online that you go there, some information that you would have paid through your nose to access. They are made available to us with the same data we used to do our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever to go and every kind of thing. This is available to every one of us right now, and you can access them with just the same data you have. So the opportunity is enormous. We have to read, we have to shape our ideologies and our narratives. Like, there's a sad reality. We are no longer colonized, in quotes, but in reality, we are still being colonized. So we have to decolonize our minds. The issue, you saw the government keeping palliatives in the corner. In a sense, I blame them. In a sense, it's where they are. In their minds, they are still being colonized, because the colonization mentality is there's like a boss or a king who has subjects who are under them that must remain as subjects for the rest of their life for that king to maintain his dominance as king. So we have to start decolonizing our minds. And how can we do this if we don't read? So guys, this is a platform we could share. You could share your books you've read. If you're interested in environmental issues, I could point you to a lot of materials that you could read. If you're interested in social issues, Ken Henshaw is right there. We the people, WTP.org is his website. He can share with you. I guess Shoebox also has a lot of materials on different issues. Bernard, Edgar, Solomon, Ella, all of us, Victor Zaviano. As much as we are trying to create content, we should also develop our mind, because in the mind lies the power that would affect the kind of changes we want to see. So I will open the floor up for people. Is Omoregie around now? I still can't find Omoregie. So I'll open up the floor for people to ask questions. If you have a question, you have something to share, something to say, you could raise your hands and we get people to, yes, we the people.ngo. I just got it, Robert. I just dropped his we the people, www.wtp.ngo. So you can access different forms of information there. On Tell the Story website, I could drop a lot. But if you have questions right now, the floor is open for us to ask questions. Yeah. Victor, okay, Victor, go ahead. Victor, go ahead.
Okay. So I don't know if someone has questions, any questions, you can feel free to share as well. But I just want to share some images actually. Hello, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see if I can first bring, I want to share a file. Let me see.
Share your screen.
Okay. Okay, I can just share my screen, right?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Sorry.
Excuse me.
I can't see it. Where do I
It's
go?
down.
Screen sharing, okay.
Yeah, share, yeah.
Okay, so let me just go straight to share PowerPoint. Okay, so can everybody see what's up there now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so this is on a lighter note, and why I want to share it is because I feel personally, for me, I do documentary because I enjoy it, but it's until recently, or like maybe 2 years ago, that I actually learned to make money from it. Before now, I've had like a background of shooting weddings and all of that. That's a very fast-paced kind of environment, and a lot is going on there. But documentary is a bit more, you pay more attention, I think, to what you're trying to tell and all of that. So why am I saying all of this? I'm trying to say all of this because I must confess that for someone like me, even though, for example, for the NSAS protest, I knew that I wanted to identify with these people because they were going to be speaking about my concerns and all of that. I probably wasn't as precise as a lot of people here that I was going out for a particular story. And I think sometimes even in documentary, it it happens like that, where you even have a story you want to tell in mind, and then you go there and then the story changes, or what you even want to talk about changes completely.
Yeah, true.
So even though I was there, because I'm a photographer and because I see lights and it's so interesting to me, or I see creative things or creative angles or just interesting things to me, I might just be pushed to talk about or to share those kind of things. Just like what Bernard was saying, the things that trigger him to just pull his camera, and before you know it, it's like an extension of his brain and he's just doing what he wants. So I just want to share like some work that I did in the Northeast. I actually went for a different project. I went for like food to talk about food security in Sahel regions of Nigeria. But in the middle of that, I saw interesting things that I wanted to talk about. So I want to just use the last few images to talk about the importance. One particular tip that I got from, I think it was from Bernard or one other photographer, I'm not sure, but I've learned that sometimes you can actually have a few elements that you're interested in and then just wait for like the story to unfold in front of your camera, just like that.
Yeah.
So I was there. I was just like creating and trying different angles after I'd done the work and all of that. And so I got to this part of the village. I think this was in Katsina, and So I got here, and I really I like backlights a lot, especially when it shows like very good highlights and all of that, and all. And it didn't have like a particular story that I was interested in. It was just very interesting for me, and I enjoyed it. Yeah,
Okay.
so I was right there, and at that moment, because it's not a wedding and it's not fast paced like that, I knew I had some time. So I decided to just stay there and work that particular composition and just pray that something happens like interestingly in my composition and all of that. So I was shooting and stuff. I'm sure I did over a couple of exposures, like a lot of exposures. But just to like cut the whole story short, I kept shooting. And interesting things kept happening just in between. And then right at this second, like something like, I don't know whether it was magical or something like that, a lady just passed in front of me and like there was, I think it was a duck or a chicken or something just flew into my frame. And then I got this particular very interesting.
Whoa.
and it's like, it's a very, very interesting, it was just a proof to me that like, even when you're doing documentary and stuff, like you can actually allow real stories to just happen like in front of you. That how skillful you are, you might actually not be able to get those kind of shots, but because it's so there's one level, there's a level of creativity that you get to, that your shots, and you know how to do those kind of things. But there's also another level where like epic stories just happen in front of you, just because you are there. And you were there to tell those stories, and you were ready, you know, for whatever was going to happen. And I think that was kind of what happened. It's just that Aisha obviously is not a bird or anything, but that was kind of what happened to me as well with the it was just that I was there and I was ready, you know, and stuff. I know I read so many stories. People were talking about the photographer that took the stuff. Somebody was like, at the moment where they were trying to throw the tear gas, there was somebody who was actually backing the police. You know, that was the photographer. He was actually backing the police and waiting for Aisha and all the other people, you know, and all of that. And that's like a level of fearlessness. Some person also like broke down that story and they were like, oh yes, a woman is leading this protest and she's from the north. And she was even wearing a mask, which was like representing the whole COVID situation and all of that and everything. So I just wanted to encourage that. A lot of interesting things can happen. It's good to have a narrative as well, but just like also, you can also go like and just be open-minded and just wait to see how things unfold. Whether you're being like an activist about it or you just want to create and all that. So that was just the point. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Shoebox. That's excellent stuff, and it's very important also. Edgar, are you there?
Yeah. Edgar, you're
are muted.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if Omoregie is back on.
I think okay. He came back and went off again. He keeps okay. But anyways, he shared some images from his work that he wanted to speak to. So because he's not here now, he wanted to talk about. He was going to talk about the reason why he took his photograph, why he took up his camera, what photography and art means to him, and what drives the kind of work he does. He said he sees photography as a calling, and storytelling is a responsibility to him. He feels if he doesn't tell stories of situations, he doesn't feel complete. So he wanted to share some things from this perspective, which I will try to share now for us to just see because he's not here. But it would also be nice to see what he had to say about them. So I'm sharing my screen right now. This was from Omoregie, from some of the stories he has created. This is from Revolution now, from the protest. Yeah. So he's trying to document the stories of people and their messages. We are all victims of the animal farm, including the welfare slave.
Yeah.
And the welfare slave, I think, is talking about the people who still have the colonial mindset running in their bloodstream. These are messages: stop destroying our homes, invest in social housing, and all those kind of stuff. But he's just trying to portray a a message. I wish he was here to talk about it by himself. So I'm going to share some of his stills so you can see them. This is one of them. Yeah, the other one here. There you go. Mayor. Okay, enter. Yeah, so this is from the project he called Displaced. It's an ongoing project for him. He has documented people in different parts of Lagos where they have been evicted from their house, from their land, especially people who live on the water, like the Makoku people. So he has been doing a lot of work with them, and it's still an ongoing project. For every of these community people, he has followed them through. And I think he contributed a story called Displaced. It's on our website, tellthatstory.com.ng. You can read about the stories from there. Otogbabe, there's a community called Otogbabe in Lagos that he documented their story. So this is from that project. Yeah, these are the people who have been evicted. They went to Lagos State's government house to demand that they be reinstated back to their houses or replaced. I mean, what's that word they use in English now? To resettle them somewhere in Lagos, they can't evict them and stuff like that. So these are people who have been evicted from their houses without giving them a place to resettle. And they are also citizens of Lagos, citizens of Nigeria. So these are the people in the High Court. This is a case of somebody who lost their life in the process. And these are people who have been evicted from their houses, making a peaceful protest and stuff like that. So he wanted to share these images, but I don't know why his network kept messing up. So this was from the protests in Lagos, the candlelight. So these are not perspective. Ella showed some of our pictures of the candlelight. This is Omoregie's perspective from the candlelight. Here we can see it. Answers. Yeah. So this is kind of image Bernard was saying he didn't want to put out. Because if he had put this kind of image, he would have just given them credence to the word hoodlum, that hoodlums are the ones who did the protest and stuff like that. So he just showed them different kinds of people, different Keda people came up for the protest. And this is the kind of image I think Victor would like. There's a lot of backlight here. Yeah. So he just wanted to share. And this showed that people, even in the midst of
somewhat of a question.
Yes. Someone has a question?
No. I just want to chip in this. I noticed that for most of us, we were part of this uprising. Most of us who documented were part of it and were for it, as it were. So my question is basically, how do we not over exaggerate what we are going through and be fair to what we are putting out? I don't know if you understand me.
Yeah, sure. So Bernard, Victor, the question is to you guys. How do you, I can ask again.
Yeah, how for most of us we're part of the uprising, as it were. I don't know if that's politically correct, but a protest to be precise, and then documented from that point of view. So I am sure there is a bias already. We really cannot help. So my question is, how do we get across the message without over exaggerating and being overly biased? I can see, is that Mayor? Oga, well done, sir. My hands are off. Mayor, I greet you. My hands are off.
Chris Honor is also here. Mayor.
Mayor, can you respond to that?
Yeah, Mayor, you can also, Chris can also respond. Victor Zaviano can respond. Whoever wants to respond, just indicate. I will allow you to respond.
Okay, if I get the question, sorry, if I get the question correctly, you meant how we were able to document with an unbiased mind, yeah?
Yeah, and not try to over exaggerate in some cases.
Okay. Basically, I think for me, what I was looking I'm sure everybody in one way or the other must have faced the whole brutality thing. But I think basically for me, most of the time I was trying to document, it wasn't mostly about the pain I felt from. That is there, that you can't take away. But to me, I was trying to couple up. I was trying to tell a story from a perspective which I already told myself, okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, we are.
Hello?
Victor, are you on? Victor, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, Edgar.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mayor, are you there? Yeah, Mayor, you can. Chris Honor is here. Mayor, can you attempt that? Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning.
Good
morning, Mayor.
I wasn't supposed to be joining the conversation. I was just supposed to be learning too. So that's why I'm here, learning. But when you talked about, how do you separate yourself from it and not exaggerate?
Mr. Lena.
It's difficult. Let's say the truth. Like, it's difficult because in one way or the other, we have been affected by it. Our friends have been affected by it. We have seen this issue go on and on and on and on and on. So when you see a particular group of people who have suffered for a time and they are now doing what they are doing, and your job is just to, as it were, do a reportage. But then it gets to you, the emotions get to you, and in as much as you're trying to be a professional, but you're still biased. And it's a subconscious thing. Like, you don't do it deliberately. You just realize that you're being pushed by your emotions to a certain kind of images, to a certain kind of narrative, because all you're trying to do is to lend your own voice, as it were, to the movement. How do you not exaggerate? It's when you, for me, I believe when you act as an editor. You're the artist, yeah. You're the photographer or the journalist, as it were, but you also act as an editor. So the editor is the guy that okay, is it balanced? First of all, is the story balanced? Is the story authentic? Is it true? So if you can check the boxes, is the story original? You check the box. Is the story true? You check the box. Is the story objective? Your pictures, are they objective? You tick the box. Are they giving opportunity for the other party to actually be fairly represented? Do you understand? You tick the box. So if you can't tick the box for all of those things, then you know you're biased. Because no matter how you look at it, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so no matter how you look at it, as a person that is in the field trying to photograph, the emotion will get to you. But if you now put yourself as an editor, because the editor doesn't care. The editor doesn't care whether you are in 8, the emotions is getting to you.
It's trying to be objective.
The editor doesn't care about all of those stuff. Yeah, the editor is the story true? Is the story objective? Is it does it give this balance to these other people on this other side and these other people on this other side? So once you're in that space, once in a while, you just let the emotions off and try to be an editor. Do you understand? So for me, that's how I balanced it, because I wouldn't say my emotions were not involved. Like, I've been stopped. I've been took the police to the ATM to take money for them. Do you understand? So I know how it feels. So there's that bias inside of me that wants to actually do that part. But there's this other part that I'm thinking about it this way. If I were to work for an agency, a news agency, will the editor take these images? So I try to put myself in the side of the editor too. So I think that's how it worked for me. So in as much as it was emotional, like I said, I tried to be an editor, trying to be objective, and measured it with all the forms of the basics of journalism. If it works, I do it. So basically, I still have the images that were very emotional for me. For me. Then there's all these other ones that it's newsworthy. It's has those everything that has to do with journalism and all of that. But if you say you'll be able to separate yourself from the emotions, come on, it's hard though. It's
Very
hard.
true. Very true.
Edgar, the other thing is about exaggeration is there's no way for you to emphasize a thing, you have to exaggerate. So exaggeration will now have to come in place of context. For example, like Mayor just said, if I'm exaggerating and I'm trying to put falsehood out there, it's wrong. Do you get? But if my exaggeration is to exaggerate a true situation or a true scenario, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Wale?
Can you hear me? I can hear you, Edgar.
Hello, Wale.
Wale, I think you should.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going outside. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead now.
Yes, so I said there is no way you can exempt yourself from exaggerating, but exaggeration will be made in line with a true context, like Mayor just emphasized. An editor will look at it. Is my story true? Is there false to the word I'm trying to say? For example, I want to show that somebody was stabbed. If I'm showing that case, I should be able to portray the fact that the person was stabbed by XYZ person, and this is why I'm trying to portray the story. But if I'm doing that from a perspective, like the picture Bernard showed of Prince Harris or Prince Charles, where he had the fuck you sign from one side, and the other showed the three finger on the other side. If I wanted to show that Prince Charles is a bad person, for example, or a street boy, for example, I will push the picture of the fuck you sign. But if I wanted to show the true perspective of what he was doing, I will show both sides of the coin. And showing both sides of the coin will exaggerate the point I'm trying to make. But showing one side of it would be telling a lie from, especially showing the fuck you sign, would be telling a lie of the story. So in our midst of exaggerating, we can exaggerate, but our exaggeration should be based on reality, on the true state of things.
In other words, amplify the truth.
I have.
Exactly.
Hello?
Yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Okay. So I kind of agree with what Wale is saying, but I think.
Did you say you can't agree, or you kind of agree?
Yes, I kind of agree.
Okay. All right.
But the thing is, without getting too technical, I think being photojournalism and documentary, as a photojournalist, you are just there to say what happened. Yes, that's where you are not supposed to be biased. But I think if you want to make a documentary, you want to tell a story about something. Your
point of view.
Yes, about a particular point of view or a particular perspective. And I think when you are telling story about a particular perspective, there is no limit to how far you can push a story. Talking about the exaggeration. I mean, I want to just say that people are suffering. Do you understand? People are suffering under people are suffering at the hands of Nigerian police. Whatever pushes that story, I mean, should fly, because that is the story I want to put out there. You understand? On the other hand, if I'm just being a photojournalist, I am just being objective to tell what the story. is. So if I was going out for the NSAS protest and my own plight, my own desire was just to tell the plight of Nigerians or like how much they are going through and all of that, whatever perspective it is me telling my own. Because still, let's not forget that I don't know if I'm being politically incorrect by saying, but let's not forget that some other people as well on the other end were trying to push their own narrative, that pictures were doctored.
Yeah.
And that pictures were, do you understand? Pictures were edited,
photoshopped,
guy, and all of that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So going as a staff of I don't know, NTA or whoever, or a newspaper, and I just want to tell a story objectively. That is very different from when I'm going to document the death.
I think it's important to draw in that distinction. I'm glad you brought that point up. There's a clear distinction between being a photojournalist and someone doing documentary work. Very clear. Thank you for that, Shoebox. Any other contribution? Solomon, I greet you. Ernest, I can see you. Thank you guys for joining.
It's really unfortunate that Omoregie could not be available to speak to us. He had so much to say, but we'll find time out and make sure this conversation is brought to the world to hear his own side of the story. Like Edgar said, we really appreciate you guys for the time you took to join. We want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to you guys. And if you have any other question, you could drop it in the chat box. We would reach out to you with answers to the questions. Yeah, and like I said, the conversation is on Facebook on our Tell That Story Facebook page. Yeah, so it's there. If you want to drop any question that comes to your mind, or you want to share something, the space is open for you. You could go there and share it.
I think you could even redirect the question to any of us.
Anybody.
If you have a question, yes, just redirect it so they respond directly to you. Yeah. Hello, Wale, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. So, and any other contribution why that is going on? We are going to have a second phase of this conversation in coming days. So, Mayor, we are booking already with you. Chris Honor, we are booking already with you. We are going to call you up again to have a conversation on this. And Ella, do you have any last words? Is Bernard still here? Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, Bernard, do you have any last words? Do you have what you want to add? Okay, somebody asked a question here. As a photojournalist in Nigeria, how do we survive such governance that happens in Nigeria? NX asking that question.
I'm excited Christy's on the next barge. That's the first thing I want to say. I hope he doesn't leave the country before then.
Because everyone is on the queue.
Yeah. So the question about governance. So the thing is this, it's not peculiar to photojournalist or documentary photographer. Like we'll be regarding ourselves too much or elevating ourselves beyond what should be if we just think we're the ones that are on the we're getting like bad vibes or the brunt of this government. And most offices or most professions are suffering it. So it's just this. I just feel it's the same way every other person will handle the issue. But one thing I want to say is this: I had the conversation around like narrative, like around that whole like this next question: balance and activism, can they go hand in hand?
Yeah.
In as much as photojournalists, they like this rap they have around the same reportage, don't be sentimental, just photograph what you see. But I don't particularly agree to that line of thought because it can backfire a lot of times. we know the story of this man, this South African photographer that took the picture of Sudan. That's the bird and the vulture bird and the child.
Yeah.
Now, in the voice of a photojournalist, that is his work. Flying, get the picture, show the world, that kind of thing. But when the guy was suffering the brunt of it, like suffering the whole depression and eventually had to take his life, he was the one that suffered it. So that whole thinking that, oh, just don't be involved in your story, or just do what you have to do. And I don't think this is still the age for it. Even when we heard Mr. Ken talking, he was talking about how like it's almost impossible not to be biased towards the story you're interested in. I agree. I have that same line of thought. I don't think it's possible to. I mean, I don't tell a story I'm not involved in. I don't tell a story that I don't have any, that nothing connects me to. I don't know if
attachment. Yeah, you must have an attachment one way or the other.
Exactly. Like the attachment should, like, definitely people have to make money. But if you're saying, oh, it's just business for you, it should be business, but don't try and make it the norm. It doesn't have to be the norm. Like that's my own.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Omoregie is here right now, and I'm happy he's here. So Reggie, can you speak to us now, Reggie? Beautiful. Thank you. We have been expecting you. Sorry for the many hitches so far, but yeah. So the floor is open to you, Omoregie. I tried to show your slides before, but you are here, so speak to them in the few minutes you have, because we're so round up. Thank you. Reggie, you're there. The floor is open to you. Omoregie. Omoregie, you're up.
Where is Omoregie?
He's right. He's in Enugu, actually. He traveled to Enugu. He should be in transit.
I think his network is
okay.
Yes, network is bad.
Oh, network is bad. Okay, so on the question of can balance and activism go hand in hand? I think yes. I think for me personally, I think yes. If you follow the stuff that Mayor talked about, and the Bible also talks about it. So whatsoever is true, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever has good report, whatsoever. So this whatsoever things can help us create the balance between what we are trying to project and activism that we are trying to also project. So when we have clear understanding of balance, balancing it based on reality, on truth, on the message you want to pass across, on the genuineness of it. Is there going to be justice from it? Is it going to meet a need? Is it going to solve a problem? And stuff like this. It will help our conversation. Like the story that Bernard talked about of that photographer that ended up killing himself. He didn't tell the story. He exaggerated the story, and the outcome of that story had negative impact on him. In reality, that vulture wasn't there to eat that child. It was just what happened to Shoebox, while he was waiting, and the duck flew into his image or flew into the scene. That vulture at that time wasn't supposed to eat that child. I think he just landed, and where he was standing, from the story I read, where he was standing at that time correlated to seem as if the vulture was trying to eat the child. Of which they said that child actually survived. The child is still living and living very well right now. Somebody took the child off and took care of the child. But the guy died because the story that was highlighted was exaggerated in the wrong perspective and for using the wrong narration. So that kind of story, we should be careful about it. We should always avoid the single story perspective. Like you emphasized when you were talking. Don't shoot to lie. Even if you're trying, like the government now, they see the reality, but they want to make themselves look good, like the good boys. They are trying to frame a lie. But the story is already outside, has already countered whatever they want to say. If they can't say anything that'll be positive, we know the reality, we see the truth. So we should be careful in what we say. Somebody asked a question. Omoregie said he's been trying to connect. I think his network is bad. Somebody said, telling stories next in DSS, I had to censor my words, images, like capture the moment, saying Buhari must go. I refuse to upload such on my social platform. Well, everybody's afraid, but in the midst of being afraid, people like Ken, regardless of what the government felt about him, regardless of what the government said about him, he didn't fail to tell the truth. He didn't fail to put forward his agitation, and it cost him his life. The government said the case they put forward was he never had anybody to come defend him, but he had a 40-page defense that he wrote that he wanted to present to the court, and they refused him to present it, and it cost him his life. So the truth about it, like Ken Henshaw said, some of this work that we are involved in is going to be a high-risk work. So, and Bernard said it, if you don't understand, if you're not embraced yourself, please, please, and please, don't put yourself out. We should first understand who we are, what we are trying to say, before we start making stories, so that if anything happens and we are justifying our conscience that we're trying to put forward a narrative and we're going to stand by it, then the consequence, whatever it is, we'll be able to stand with it. But if we are not prepared and we don't understand who we are, I want to beg of us, press the slow pedal. So you have just a conviction in your spirit, in your heart, to stand for it and stand for justice. And like they said, a man who doesn't stand for anything, we stand for, a man who doesn't stand for a thing, we stand for anything. And that makes the person, I think I'm misquoting it. But what I'm trying to say is, we must all stand for a thing.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, the absence of any other stuff. Is Wale still on? I can't hear him from here.
Yeah, I think he's breaking.
I just came back. Yeah, I just came back now.
Okay.
So we must all stand for a thing in life, and no matter what it is, either you stand for falsehood or you stand for truth, you will stand for a thing. And whatever we are going to stand with, we should be ready to bear the consequences when it arises. It could be good, it could be bad, but our actions, we should be ready to face it and stand for what we are trying to pass across. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Wally. Thank you very much. Bernard, thank you everyone that has come on this morning. Thank you for your time. It's really been eye-opening. Mr. Zaviano, your beds are getting long.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, maybe the nature of the weather.
Thank you, Ella. Ella, it's so good to meet you. Hopefully someday we'll meet in person. Mr. Victor, always very grateful. Thank you very much for finding time to be with us today. Every other person, Mayor and Bernard, Edgar, I greet you. What about talk very well? Surprisingly, we are all from different parts. I was supposed to be together with one part, so I think it's really a virtual thing. I'm here in Benin alone. We're supposed to be in Benin together. We're looking forward to have some of you guys much later in Benin. I hope you oblige us when that time comes. Ella, thank you very much. Mayor and all everyone in the list, I can't mention their name. Thank you. We are really grateful. Really grateful.
Mr. Edgar, I can come to your place Christmas food.
I didn't hear that. Take that again.
I said I'm booking my Christmas holiday at your place already. In advance.
Don't worry, come. When come I experience what I'm experiencing.
Oh, wahala.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you. So, like I said, Mayor, please get ready. Chris, get ready. Ogechi Koki, thank you, Ma, for joining. That's a great. She's a veteran journalist, and she joined the conversation. Ken Henshaw, thanks a lot for joining. Usahon, Rofiat, Solomon, I can't list everybody, Almoba, and everyone. We are so grateful that you guys took time out to be here. Shoebox, so also booking a date. When this COVID is over, we are coming over. So guys, in the coming days, we're going to announce. Yeah. And guys, please, Bernard is getting married soon, so prepare. We have to celebrate with him. Yeah. So, so get ready, guys, and thank you once again. We really appreciate.
Thank you.
So from all of us at Tell That Story, thank you. We'll put this online and share it. So I'm going to say bye now. Edgar, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you too.
All right now.
Yeah.
So guys,
All right now.
so
Take care.
let's
Bye,
thanks. Bye everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.